The cold month of December had arrived, and the engines were busy as usual pulling their trains and trying to keep on schedule. It was 2 days until Christmas, and one morning in the sheds, the engines' fires were getting lit. They soothed happily as the cold water heated in their boilers. There was still time before work, and Lyndon remembered a story he had once been told. "A few days ago, my driver told me the tales of a mystical engine who only appears at Christmas," he said. James Clifford yawned loudly, but Misty was interested in hearing more. "Please tell us about it," she asked eagerly. Lyndon sighed. "When the month of December falls and Christmas Day is near reach, an engine called Sandy Claus journeys down the vacant rails. Filled with the Christmas spirit, he passes the snowy wilderness, spreading cheer all around, granting wishes to the most unfortunate." They say that on the late hours of Christmas Eve, he returns to the North Pole, reuniting with Father Christmas. The engines found the story very enchanting indeed, but James Clifford couldn't help but poke fun. "A magical engine that grants wishes? Pah! Utter nonsense," he declared. Soon the trains were underway, and the coaches were packed with passengers. Peggy remained in the yard and waited for Misty to shunt her floor wagons. When she arrived, she was pushing a goods van. "Where are my wagons?" asked Peggy. "I don't know. My driver was told to shunt this new van instead," replied Misty. Peggy stared at the goods van and didn't seem happy at all. She was used to pulling the floor wagons. "Another change made," she grumbled. Soon she was on her way to the mill. The van was new and very smooth to pull, but Peggy was still unsure. When she arrived, the miller was very impressed. "Amazing! An upgrade I welcome warmly. At least now the sacks will not get wet when it rains, and there will be room for more," he expressed happily. Peggy felt relieved. It seemed that the van was going to be useful after all. Reaching Cold Harbour, she shunted the van at the quay and waited as the workers unloaded the sacks. Once it was empty, Peggy departed. On the causeway route that leads to Carlone, a windmill stands on top of a hill. Each day over the past year, a child would watch the trains as they passed by. Today was no different. As Peggy chuffed down the line, he looked on until she was out of sight. Perhaps he's a simple train spotter who finds joy in watching the engines pass with their trains. Or maybe there is another reason. That evening, Peggy left the mine with her slate train. As usual, she chuffed down the line, hoping that nothing would delay them reaching the boat. They arrived at the harbour in good time, and her driver uncoupled the wagons. Soon they set off. The causeway was very quiet. Not a sound could be heard from the sea, not a splash or wave. All was calm. Down the line, the signal was red, so the driver applied the brakes at once. They had stopped outside the windmill. Peggy was cross. She wanted to go home. "What's going on at this time of night?" she grumbled. At the windmill, the young boy appeared yet again. He could see that the train had stopped, so slowly walked down the hill towards them. The driver confronted him at once. "It's dangerous down here. Is there something wrong?" he asked. The boy seemed taken aback by his question. "I'm sorry for bothering you. I will go," he said nervously. "Stop!" called the driver. "I'm sorry I was abrupt. Now tell me, what's wrong?" Taking a deep breath, the boy finally spoke. "My father owns the windmill up above. He supplies quite a few bakeries who love his flour. He would like to expand and deliver far away, but he can't afford a van. They cost a lot. They cost a lot of money," he explained. Peggy's driver was about to reply, but she sharply interrupted. "I'm terribly sorry, young man, but I already collect flour from Kilcanna Mill. My dear friend Harry wouldn't be pleased if the railway was helping out competition," she told. The boy seemed alarmed by her response. "Oh, no. My daddy is no competition. His flour, it's very different. Very different. It's made from corn, not wheat," he revealed. Things were now much clearer, but Peggy was still puzzled. "If your father wants this railway to transport the flour, then why doesn't he speak to our manager?" she asked in dismay. Before he could answer, a voice echoed around the area. "Charlie, come here now," called a man from top of the hill. My daddy thinks the railway is too busy to help, but my friends say there are a lot of engines. Please ask your manager for me. It would help Daddy's mill greatly. He wishes he had more work to do. Help us." Peggy looked on as Charlie returned to his father. A few minutes later, the signal turned green. She could finally go home. The next day, it was Christmas Eve. It was the railway's last functioning day before Christmas. A huge Christmas tree was put on display outside the station. Tonight, there was to be a Christmas party for the children. Everyone felt very festive. Peggy had no flour delivery today, which meant she was in the shed until that evening, when she would collect the slate train. She felt sorry for the miller, and knew it took a lot of courage for his son to ask for help. Unfortunately, Baron Starkey was nowhere to be seen. "Oh, he must be busy in the office," she said. Hours passed by, and soon it was early afternoon. When James Clifford returned to the sheds, Misty had to shunt his coaches. This was the perfect opportunity. "I need to speak to Baron Starkey. It's an emergency. Please ask for him at the station," she requested anxiously. Misty set off at once. Stopping in front of the coaches, her driver tooted her horn repeatedly. Everyone wondered what was wrong, but soon Fred emerged from the building. Misty told him at once that Peggy requested Baron Starkey's presence. "He's coming soon!" she called. True to her word, he did.
Why have you summoned me to the odds? Christmas Eve is a very busy day,
he scolded. Peggy apologized and then told him about the miller's son. Letting out a gentle sigh, Baron Starkey thought for a moment.
So he wants to expand to more businesses and needs transport for deliveries. Let me see what I can do,
he said before leaving. Peggy was pleased and hoped that he could help in some way. Night time came. She was full of steam and ready to go to the mine. Her driver was just about to release her brakes when Baron Starkey returned.
On your way home, stop by the mill and bring the miller to the station,
he asked. Peggy smiled in delight as she departed. Collecting the slate wagons, she couldn't wait to reach the harbour. It was so cold her wheels ached, but she was used to it. Each puff of smoke brought her closer and closer. Finally, she made the delivery. Now the windmill was her destination. She wished the workmen a Merry Christmas before leaving. As her driver applied the brake, Peggy looked up, but the young boy wasn't standing on top of the hill. Her driver blew her whistle loud, with the hope of catching their attention. Thankfully, the miller and his son both appeared, and carefully walked down the path to the line.
We're here to bring you to Colony Station. Baron Starkey would like to speak to you,
informed the driver. The miller was confused, but his son was delighted. You did it, Peggy! Thank you, he announced happily.
Did what, exactly?
asked the miller. It's a surprise, Daddy. Now come on, we have to go, urged his son. They both boarded Peggy's cab, and then she made her way to Colony. By the time they arrived, the party was underway, and the miller's son couldn't take his eyes off the large Christmas tree. Baron Starkey greeted them warmly.
I understand, sir, that you would like to expand and supply more places with your flour,
he said. The miller looked down at his son, who smiled at him.
Yes, I just need transport,
he said. Baron Starkey smiled.
Will I have made some arrangements? There are bakeries who would be more than happy to use your special corn flour, but transport will require an engine who will take it to the harbour. A boat will then take it north, and then lorries will deliver it to the bakeries,
he informed. The miller and his son were overjoyed. It's a Christmas miracle, Daddy. My wish has come true, he announced excitedly. Baron Starkey, however, wasn't finished.
There are contracts in my office that will need signed, and after the holidays all shall begin,
he said. The miller proudly looked at his son.
Once all is signed, we will maybe stay for a while at this party,
he suggested. However, there was something playing on Peggy's mind. Excuse me, sir, but who will be taking the flour to the harbour? She asked.
It will be Lyndon,
he replied before they went inside. Peggy couldn't have felt more proud. She had made a young boy's wish come true, just like the engine from the story.
Well done, Peggy,